Hello, everyone. I'm excited to have Emma here today. So let me introduce you to Emma, who I've met through One Roof. She's amazing. And so Emma Lovell is on a mission to live a life that she loves and to support others to do the same. As a coach, speaker, and writer, Emma inspires her clients and audiences to focus on what they truly want and to go after it wholeheartedly. As an entrepreneur, we don't start business just to give ourselves a job. We are here to create a life. Emma, hang on a sec, I almost lost it. Emma shares how she has run a business for 14 years while traveling the world, having a family and making time for herself. She believes you can combine business, travel, and self-care to live a life you love right now. She's also a speaker, an MC, regularly taking on regularly talking on, forgive me, to the physical and virtual stages to inspire, motivate, and encourage audiences. She's also a host of not one, not two, but three podcasts. Lovely Travels, Live and Love Your Brand, and coming soon, The Emma Lovell Show. She lives in the Gold Coast with her Aquaman husband Matthew and her toddler Finn and their fur baby cat T'Challa. How do you say that one?
T'Challa, yeah, he's always a talking point. It's Black Panther's real name, so my cat is a Black Panther. Mm.
Wow, sounds amazing. You put that in your images somewhere. I'd love to see that too. Now, I'm going to ask you straight out because we're so real and fun and everything. This is every interview is different. Every woman is different about honoring ourselves, which I love so much. So, one of the questions I wanted to ask you is how on earth do you juggle being a mom, also a daughter, and a businesswoman and a wife and all of those things? I'm really curious, how do you make that happen? Because you're always full of life and bubbles, it seems. How is that going?
Yeah. Well, I think the answer is I don't do it all at once. And I would never want I never want to be held up on a pedestal or be like superwoman or something because I do live high octane. I do live on high energy. I can achieve a lot I guess in more than the average bear, but I definitely have my down moments and my pauses. And, someone said years ago, and it came to me the other night when I couldn't sleep, because that happens when you do a lot of things. But I remember a friend waiting for me at the airport, and they were talking, and she was like, "Oh, Emma's everywhere. She's just everywhere. She's always doing everything. And I'm so jealous. And how does she do it all? Or how can she do it?" And the friend said, like, it's not it's not always easy for her. Like, she has to physically do the things. Like, all you're seeing is what you see on Facebook or what you see her pop up in a new place. She's traveling, she's working, she's doing all this behind the scenes that you don't see. So there's work that goes into that. And I guess the other thing about not doing it all is, yeah, that it takes work. I am tired. I do get exhausted and need to have pauses and breaks, but also I don't do it alone. So I have support in many forms within my business and, with my son and with our home. And yeah, you just can't do it alone. Don't try.
No, that's right. So you have a structure probably where you would consider your work, because being an entrepreneur means you don't go to the office, you're all in charge, but also how do I manage my parenthood and all the plans and also the changes that can happen while you're running it? Because there's always a surprise somewhere, right? So you say
Yeah.
you've got support. Does that mean you've delegated, you've got virtual assistants and all that as well?
Yeah. So I've been running my business for 14 years. The first 10 years was more like freelancer, sole trader. So more like predominantly me, and then I would bring in subcontractors from time to time if I had a bigger job or if I had too much work on. But the problem with that is then, you sort of go, oh, I've got all the work, get all the help. And then I go, oh, I don't have so much work. Got to let the help go. And then you start again. What I realized in my 10th year of business was like, I need that base, that consistency, that support, and that has to become an expense of the business, a cost of the business to have that ongoing support. I still think there's things where it's really good to get that just block of work, to get someone in to do a specific job, but having one, maybe two people who are on consistently. So whether that's a bookkeeper who is on once a month to do things, or having a relationship with your accountant, not just at tax time. I now have an OBM. I've had a series of VAs and EAs, and team is probably one of the hardest things, getting the people who are at the right stage for your business and the right stage of life for you and your business. So I currently have an OBM, online business manager, and a virtual assistant. And then I have sort of outsourced support in form of a podcast producer, website specialist who helps me with SEO and my email structure, my accountant, my bookkeeper. And then, like I said, you need personal support. So I've just been to the doctor to get a health check. I think that's so important to do. And I'm trying to build a relationship with a new doctor. I have a virtual personal trainer who checks in with me once a week. So I go to the gym, but she checks in with me. I have a kinesiologist, a psychologist, they're all on the support team. But then none of them are full-time. Like, it sounds like a lot. I have a cleaner once a fortnight, we don't have them full-time. And then my son's in childcare 3 days a week.
Yes, I was going to ask you, a lot of people that watch this might go, wow, how are you doing this? Do you have like some sort of $100,000 saving in your bank, or how do you navigate?
No, definitely not.
How do you afford that stuff? So do you have like a base income that you have set up that is coming in, maybe through an online thing or an affiliation? How do you do this thing?
I'd love to say yes, and that's what I would work towards. It's been the goal for years, but for a really part of my build up, my makeup, which I'm learning to work with, not against, is feast or famine. So I can do a really big launch. I can create a new thing and get a lot of. I'm like a modern day pirate for money. I can find money and make money anyhow. But the consistency, like I said, it's taken me a while to understand that I needed that consistency. So there are months where I don't have as much income, and so then I am having to have an expense. And one of the things that I've done this year, and you have to sort your own stuff out. But for a long time, as I said, being a sole trader and a freelancer, my money and the business money were tied up. So I've really worked in the last 18 months separating business and personal. So I now have an Amex, which is my line of credit. And it's helped to just go, I can't just freak out and go, I don't have any money to pay my staff. I can't have them, because I know that I might have a quiet month or two, and then I'll have a really great month. So it's just that my work is not as, I don't have sort of, I know there's probably a base of a few thousand a month, but I sort of tend to get more big chunks with the retreats that I do, or the courses that I do, or the programs that I do, and then coaching clients sort of float along. I'd love to have one sort of main consistent thing, and it's something I'm working towards, but I'm also learning to understand the ebbs and flows of my business. And again, working with an accountant, a bookkeeper, I work with a pricing specialist a few times to work out what that cash flow looks like. And I think if I could recommend something to people, getting someone like that into your business early would be such a huge thing. I didn't have that support, that consistent support on the finance side. To think about cash flow forecasting or projections. I just get to a point where I go, I got a bunch of stuff coming up. I've got to make a bit of money, and I get a fire under my bum. I'll go out and make $30,000. But it's not very good for the adrenals. So having someone to support on that financial front is huge.
I really, really hear you, because a lot of people go into business and they have a skill to share, but they may not know how to either do the advertising or the finances. And then that can really be the downfall, or the place where there's so much stress. Because I know a lot of women, and I myself have been in business for so long, coaching and, doing this and that. And I'm actually really interested to hear that, you could get a loan. It's often hard if you're a sole trader to get a loan, or to not a loan, sorry, but
a line of credit.
A line of credit. Is that actually reasonably easy to do? I know you have to pay credit on top of it,
and interest
and all of that. But
yeah, again, we won't, I'm not a finance person, and everybody has to go their own circumstances. But, I've had credit cards in the past, but again, they ended up being quite linked to my personal finance. So having the business Amex, and I found the team at Amex very good to deal with in terms of relationship. Understanding minimum payments, understanding that there might be interest and things like that. But it means that, I played small for a very long time, because it was like, I'll only pay money when I have the money. I'll only get my website done when I have money. I'll only go to this event if I have money. But there's times where things come up, opportunities come up, and you have to take them at the time. Again, I'm not telling people to go out and get yourself into a bunch of debt. I know that I have coming up that income coming. It's just that I need that little bit of cash flow. I need that little bit of credit to get me there. And I didn't look at it like that in the past, and I've had to get comfortable with that as well. I was very uncomfortable with any sort of debt. But what happened was that I was so uncomfortable with business debt. I'm being very honest here. So uncomfortable with the thought of having business debt that I put I was quite happy to take from our personal funds at times, which then puts us under personal strain. And it's like, if the business needs something, the business should pay for it. And it was really removing myself from the picture and looking at, the finances over here. So I was quite surprised. I wasn't sure because yes, I have applied for business loans before and not got them. A small business, it can be really challenging. So, if that's in the cards for you, obviously understanding as well with a line of credit, it can be the only problem with it can be quite open. So you have to be mindful of how much is there. But, it's a temporary sort of support to keep me growing and to keep the business going, and also to support my contractors. I never want to be that person who can't pay as well. So, there are times where clients pay late and things like that. I don't want to be the one doing that to my contractors. So sometimes it's just that little bit of a bridge, and I've had to learn a lot about that, and think about the long term. Think about the long term, not just, oh my gosh, I don't have money this month, the world is over. Because in 12 months' time, you won't even remember that
Exactly.
that month.
Exactly. I find that that's so important. What you're saying really means you've got a very integrated concept of personal life, business life, also the exchange that can be there, but also keeping it separate and not, for example, if we had an addictive personality, it would be really important to navigate that is not too wide open, that you can't just splurge. And I know as a business owner myself, it requires such awareness and restraint. When do I put money in and invest everything versus, when am I actually needing that income? It's huge. It's like a big thing. And I love how you've got everything in place. I never even realized there were so many things you could have in place. It's quite huge. And it's like owning yourself.
Well, it's been a lot of education, and it was a good sort of kick up the bum, I guess. Last year I had an accountant and bookkeeping sort of company, and it turned out that they were not doing the job that I thought they were doing. And it's just really upsetting. It's a big loss of trust. I had tried to do the right thing. I'm like, I was trusting in them. I was asking the questions. I was trying to learn. I'm trying to get educated, but I also trust that they have the knowledge. And they really weren't doing the job they were meant to be doing. And so when I got a different accounting and bookkeeping team, and honestly, it's taken sort of 12 months to unravel that mess of potentially 2 years. And unfortunately, that does happen. People not understanding your business, because small business is so varied. So having someone actually understand, I now have female bookkeepers. I have a female accountant, which I think really helps. My accountant has twin toddlers and I have a toddler. Our first meeting, I cried because I have a lot going on in my life. I have a lot of grief, and she just took the time to listen to me and to make space for me. And she gives me guidance based on my life, not going, you're, profit and loss. Like it's not as simple as that. It's understanding what I want from the business, where I want to take the business. So to have someone who actually understood it and speaks to me in a language that I could understand, and then taking on my own learning. I've been reading books, I've listened to podcasts, I have conversations, we talk about money. It's so important, because without that element, you're not running a business if it's not making money, or it's not, if you're just sticking your head in the sand. And I just wanted to say before about some of the support I have. I talk about these support, but I do like one-off sessions sometimes. So like I've had 2 one-off sessions with a pricing expert. I think the trend at the moment is there's so many courses and so many programs, and I might be doing us out of a job, Sabine. We're coaches, but I've actually created now an hour of power, because I don't think everyone has to be locked in to a 3-month, 6-month, 12-month program or course. Sometimes you just need to talk to an expert and get some clarity and work through something. And you could do that in an hour. You know, they're not going to fix everything, they're not going to solve everything, but just to have somebody to work through that with me and give me an idea of what pricing looks like, what my expenses look like, to actually be able to read those numbers with me. I got so much out of that. And so now I offer that to my clients too. It's like, if you just need support with like creating a money making idea, or you're not sure how to promote yourself, or you want to do some more networking, or you want to do more travel and you don't know how to do that when you've got a business and to juggle it, maybe one call could help you. So sometimes maybe just going and getting that one-off help and paying a little bit extra to get the guidance you need.
So it's like quality over quantity, it's time efficient, and it's also directed and personal then, right? It's not a general thing. So it would just get rid of whatever issues there are, inspirations come in, you offer that, but also it is worth every dollar because it's so specific. You're not wasting time doing stuff you don't need to do. I love your idea. So people can put in for an hour of power, and what would they first email you what the issue is, and then you have that hour? And is that how do you work that?
Whatever they want. So generally people coming to me because of my background in communications, they're coming sort of from a promotional angle, but you know how it is to be. Whenever you talk to people, they go like, it's actually like life stuff, or it's like a confidence thing. It's not, they don't have a problem with, do I send a newsletter or do I post on social media? It's just that they're so overwhelmed, or they're like so stuck in there, like, oh, I have to run my thing this way. When you say, oh, have you thought about, you could run it in 3 different ways, but you've got to start somewhere. So go with this one and then run this one. So sometimes it's just, they've got all this stuff and kerfuffle that they get stuck, they get overwhelmed, and they're so in it that they can't see it. And if somebody just talks to you about it, then it makes it clearer. So I do send a kind of a questionnaire just for them to kind of get some stuff out and more to use after, because generally as soon as they start talking, you pick up and you go, you said this, but actually we're going to work on that.
Right. People think this is the problem, but it's actually maybe the self-care or spending some time to actually meditate, or maybe going to the gym could be a problem, just to get out and to get, you know, a different perspective. And I agree with you so much. I feel like when we have a conversation and we actually just have a brain dump and someone else sees it from a totally different perspective and goes, that's so obvious. Why didn't I even see that? And you're also validated and you are met where you are because you've done so much already and you've got that set up. You can straight away go, hang on, there's a whole gap missing you might not have considered yet. I can just see how that will flow, and in a really fun way as well. I love it.
And I always say in my call, we'll do 3, I'll give you 3 things. Like, you'll walk away with 3 actions you can take. But action might be, go for a bath. I don't know, go for a walk would be the first action, or listen to this podcast, or this book is everything you have a problem with. This book is everything. I think one of my superpowers as well is knowing people. So I think you've already seen that, Sabine. Like, you tell me what you need, I'll know the person. So the time with me just might be me then emailing 5 people that you need to talk to. I'll know the person. And if I don't know the person, I know the person who knows the person. So sometimes it's like the connection that they need. And the more specific you can be. I had a colleague who was trying to get into Officeworks. And I said, well, my sister-in-law used to work at Officeworks. I'm sure she still has colleagues. So because she was so specific, I actually was able to put her in contact directly with a person. So sometimes make your ask, even as ridiculous as it sounds, be very clear about what you're asking, because somebody might actually be able to help you in a really specific way.
So yes, and I realize, because you're all about communication, that is the key. One of the things I teach people is knowing what you want and then communicating that is almost gonna resolve everything. Know it, be clear, and if not clear, communicate, find out, and then express it even to your partner, to your business colleagues, to the accountant, to your kiddies, to your pets even. I mean, it's all communication in the end. So I'm gonna ask you, so how do you go with that communication of juggling your parents, and like how much support do you have? Do you have your parents and your husband's parents, or how does that work for you? That would be another realm altogether for
Yeah, well, I'll be full disclosure. I came onto the call with Sabine today and I'm very frustrated. We have support. We actually, my in-laws live in and my parents live interstate. So we're in Queensland. Most of my family's in New South Wales. So they come up and support at times. But I think and some people are quite envious of that. Even so, I know when you've lived overseas, can be quite envious. Though my parents grew up away from my entire family, so because they're English, so we grew up in Australia, so they never had family support. So they called on family friends, and they built their network. So I've seen that happen. But yeah, we've been fortunate to have them up here a lot, but sometimes that comes at a price. It comes at a cost. A lot of communication, there's negotiating, there's boundaries, there's feelings. So I was very clear from day one that we were going to put my son into childcare. It's a very clear arrangement. You pay them, they have opening hours, they take care of them, they teach them stuff. I love it. So he's been in 2 days a week for the first 2 years, and then 3 days a week now. But then yeah, it's just a lot of negotiating, communicating, and then sometimes it's boundaries and feelings and frustration. And I think the challenge I have and was having at the moment is my husband has a not a very traditional job. He works at SeaWorld, so it's pretty crazy. He dives with the sharks, but
Yes.
traditional in that he goes to a place to work and his hours are set. And so when he goes to work, he goes to work, and when he comes home, he's home. And then he goes away on trips sometimes to do shark tagging and dugongs. Very exciting. But my work is not so traditional and isn't so clear cut. And so sometimes what you see of me is that I'm at events and then I'm having lunch and then I'm out with the gals, when actually I'm networking, I'm building relationships. And, I can go to an event, have a coffee with someone after, and that can turn into an $8,000 client. But mine isn't taken seriously. And I'm here at home in my office, but I'm still accessible. So the way I communicate that to my husband sometimes is, when you're at work and you're under the water with the sharks, like you're literally under the water with sharks, think about this office. And I've got, like a whale and dolphins that was on the wall from my son being in this room. I'm underwater right now because at work is me underwater. So I'm not contactable. I'm not accessible. So sometimes it's frustrating trying to get I love the freedom that my business creates. I love the alternative route that I've taken, but sometimes over the years, I've had to do a lot of explaining and communicating to get people to understand and take it seriously that this is a legitimate, profitable, brilliant business that is growing and creating our lives.
Yes, and because we kind of make it look fun, and
Yeah.
because we are multitasking a lot, which is easier generally for women, and I don't know, there are probably women who are more masculine and men that are more feminine. Because I tend to make things look fun too, people always think, you've got it so cruisy. And I'm like, you don't realize though, it's all happening in the background all the time. In one way, you don't stop, and I then meditate or walk the beach, and then there might be an inspiration, and I'll make a recording for that. I'm sure you're the same. Like you said, you're having a meeting in, what was it, a place called Soak. How amazing is that? It's a creative.
Tomorrow, yes, we're having a meeting with the fabulous Shelley Horton, who's a brilliant speaker and MC. I'm going to do some media training with her soon. We're going to be talking about how we could potentially offer that in a group setting. So it is very much a business discussion. But we're having the meeting in the bathhouse. So it's like hot pools and sauna and steam room. And it was like, what's the difference between us sitting and having a conversation over coffee, which would be taken seriously, to us having a meeting in a bathhouse? It's like, and what I said to you off air, which it's like I'm getting quite angry about, is like men for many, many years have done business on the golf course, at, the country clubs, at bars, over dinners. Then why? Because women go out and have champagne, look beautiful, and we do it over lunch or cocktails or in a bathhouse. Why is it not so serious? It's yeah.
And
Not
I think
happy about that.
Well, I actually think you are leading the way there with many other women too, but a group of us. And I think that's just the whole shift. Some women completely live it. And of course, some relationships suffer if there is especially a competition or not a quite clear understanding that I value you and you value me. Can we please make that equal? It is still something that's quite new to humans. And quite an interesting journey. So yeah, where then you're not just navigating your business and making it look fun and being a mom and all this, but you're also trying to explain without getting frustrated too much that how powerful this actually is, and we don't have to be working the same way. I really, really love this because that's why I'm in business, to be able to have fun and be human and have these human connections like what you're doing. It is just so exhilarating. Although I don't have as much energy as you do seem to have a lot of dynamic energy, which is amazing.
You've got some nice, we can share. I'll give you some of my sparkle energy and you can give me some of your chill energy. But I think as you said, like I'm really proud of the way that I've done business differently, and my business is going in a new direction. It's really happening this week. So I guess that's a lot for me to take on as well. But like I said, you said in my introduction, I'm changing my podcast. So it's going to be, I've worked under my business name for 14 years, but I'm changing to work as Emma Lovell. And I got given this actually, let's see if I can get it off recently. So I'm going to be Emma Lovell 2023. So I have another one which was given to me, which says Lovely Communications. So we're doing a change of the guard. So I'll be stepping into that power of working in my own name. It gives me a lot more freedom to cover the various aspects of my life. And I'm really I call myself coach, general coach. And I feel like I'm like a business /life /travel coach. The thing that people know me for is my business and my travel. So I'm like, why are we not combining those? And I really want to help business owners and entrepreneurs to travel more and to do the things that they love. And we say that that's what we want. We say that we want freedom. We say that we want to live this life and we're creating it. And then sometimes we create ourselves a 60, 80 hour a week job. We went from a 9 to 5 to a 24/7. Like the thing about having a business is it's always on your mind. And so you want to create one that you enjoy and that you love, that allows you to go and do the thing that you say you want to do. And if it's spending time with your family, be spending time with your family and making that time to be able to go and see my son tomorrow at his kindy party. I did decide to put him in for an extra day because I have to get this new website out into the world this Friday. So I made that decision, but I'll go for a walk with him in the morning. I'll take him to his kindy party and then, I'll do my work and then I'll go to my spa meeting, that's where it is. And I think I'm not going to sit here and go, you can travel the world and you can be on your boat and you can be amazing and just see it all done. It's like we've talked about today, it takes sacrifice. I have late nights sometimes, or I do calls at silly hours. I sometimes work on a Sunday, but predominantly it's my choice. It's like if I work on this Sunday night, then I can go and do the fun thing on the Monday. Or if I go to Italy and I get up at 6 a.m. and work for 4 hours in the morning, I can then be in Italy for the rest of the day. So I sacrifice 4 hours of my day to do some work, earn some money, to enjoy the rest of the day.
Exactly.
Everything comes with a price. And that's the price I choose to pay. And that's how I make it work. Sometimes it's tiring. Sometimes it costs money. Sometimes it's, I have to do a bit more work in the week, but ultimately I get to work from the balcony of Positano or Ibiza or run a retreat in India.
And that brings you right back to, if people know what they really, really want, right? Then you can tailor that, and that's what you're helping them with. If you want to travel, then have a reason for traveling. It becomes a tax deduction. Go and hold something there, connect to people there. But again, to have that encouragement and take that leap, because we all know it's initially uncomfortable. It's a new thing. And that's where someone like you will come in, or any coach that works in a specific area and can just take you over that bridge, as you call it, into that next chapter, and also discuss it with our family members. So they know this is where I'm heading. This is my goal. this is the path, so they don't think, well, you're just in a spa all the time. What's really going on? They know.
Yeah, we joked around. We're like, we're not ever doing meetings not in a spa. Like, this is where I take my meetings now. If you find, I take calls by the pool. Like, that's where I'm going to do it. And if you can, you can.
But you know what? Even though you are communicating with her about one thing, she might know someone in Italy and might know a retreat center. Or that's what I love. I'm a very much a communicator too, by the way, even though I was a bit awkward here with our introductions. But I really think communication is the key to everything, because we are such resourceful beings. And if we actually ask the right questions and listen, this is incredible. The world is our oyster, and we can have so much fun collaborating, which is what you're doing all the time. You have these connections and collaborations, and I love it too. It makes me feel like I'm not really working. It's like we're just lifting each other up.
Conversation. And I think we can connect as humans. And I guess my focus for the last 4 years has been personal brand. I will continue to always bring that in, because for me, personal brand is you. You are your personal brand. It's who you are, and it's the communication of who you are. And you and I connected as people. Yes, we were in one roof, and yes, it was like, maybe there's a business thing, but the day we were talking about sort of ways to bring in mindfulness. And then both wanted podcasts, so I think my ask was to be on podcasts, and I know you want to do more of that too. And then I heard that you're German, and I was like, well, I've been to Germany 10 times, so then we connect on that point, and I'm sharing you my travel podcast from Germany. Like,
so good.
The depth of connection then becomes more. So when we connect as humans, and not just, so what do you do, Sabine? And here's what I do, and I'll just give you my pitch and not tell you anything about what's going on in my life.
Yeah, the good, the bad, the ugly, the in-between, because that's how we have always thrived. I'm sure that the humans that have thrived the most, even long ago, were the ones that would share and help. And then we had the elders giving advice and the children observing, and it was always like that. It's human nature, and this is what I want to live for, just like you. Isn't it the best? It's so amazing, and it's so rewarding. It actually gives energy back because of the women that you've connected with. Do you work with men as well, by the way?
I can, yeah. And I think I'm leaning more to that. Naturally, the personal brand work kind of attracted women, and I guess they felt like they had more challenge with the confidence, and probably more my vibe attracted the women. But I think now that I'm moving into this business travel sort of space, I feel like the men are going to come back, and they want that as well. And I work with people, I don't want to say I would love to work with non-binary people. I'd love to work with people from around the world. And I have a conversation with a few people, a colleague, Yemi Penn, recently, and I said, it's such a weird thing for me, as you know, like, I have such a global network in terms of my friendship and family. Like, I'm so global in that respect, but my client base, at times I've had clients overseas, but you would think that my client base would be a lot more international. And it's like, what's going on there? And so I really want to open up the world, and yes, I want to work with people from everywhere. I love different cultures. I love learning, and I'd love to bring people together from everywhere, that connection piece. So yeah.
No, it's like I'm also just flowing with it, and I wasn't sure if you wanted that to be expressed, because some people might say there's a guy watching this going, well, is this all girly stuff? And so I thought I better ask. But that's, I hear you. This is all
people who want to live their life, and I know there's people that I've connected with over the years, some very dear friends. Some of the biggest things that in my life have happened because of travel. At the moment I have an investment property. I'm looking at selling that, but I met the person who sold me the house on a cycling trip in Cambodia and Vietnam, Queensland. And I just mentioned that I wanted to buy a house, an investment property, and he was a real estate agent. He ended up selling me my house. So another guy I climbed Kilimanjaro with, he's been such a great mentor to me and really helped me to reframe the way that I did not-for-profit style work and the way that I got involved with charities, because he ran a charity fundraising organization for charities, and like just being with different people. And I know that those guys have that, and I actually have gone on to do work with both of them. So And one of my favorite clients of late was a brilliant entrepreneur. He's started a company called The Tile Supply, and they have just set up their showroom, and I just feel so proud. I'm hopefully going to go and do a bit more work with them, but I did their brand voice work, their values, their messaging. Originally, they wanted me to do literally the voiceover for video. And then when we started talking, we realized that the messaging wasn't there. And I just loved getting to work with the CEO and really tap into his story and his why, and to pull all that information, and credit to him for like fully giving into the process, and to see the vision come to life. Like, nothing greater than that. Like, they're just going to go from strength to strength. And so to get to be on that journey with my clients is a privilege.
Just listening to you now, it just makes me, almost, I was speechless for a moment, thinking, oh, wow, like I'm just immersed. Your world is just so bright and expanded. It's so beautiful. Did you want to talk more about charity? Did you want to mention anything else about that?
Yeah, I mean, so it's going to be great to be, I think this is the fun part about my new website, is I get to really bring in that travel and not-for-profit. I've just sort of been drawn to that space. I ended up doing a contract with World Vision Australia. I've had a sponsor child for over half my life and been to visit them. Ended up getting the dream job of working in their media and comms team after being a blog ambassador. And so I've also done some work with Cure Brain Cancer Foundation. So at times throughout my business journey, I've done contracts in-house, which is an amazing networking opportunity and amazing people to work with. But I've always done these fundraising adventures as well. So I get to now share that on my website. And I've raised 100% probably over $30,000 individually for organizations. But because of the work that I used to work with a charity challenge company, so I would encourage people and help them to raise money. And so I would have raised hundreds and thousands of dollars through encouraging people to go out there and fundraise. And unfortunately, all those skills of my communication and my fundraising have come into full force this year, because my nephew was diagnosed with a rare genetic condition in January. It's called Krabbe disease. It's a white matter disease, form of white matter disease. So it affects the brain and the sort of muscular neuro system. He was 11 months at the time. He's been given 12 to 24 months to live. So I set up a GoFundMe for my brother, and we've raised $45,000 just to support them. Unfortunately, there is no hope for Louis. And at the moment, my family is doing some fundraising for Cerebral Palsy Alliance, because the Cerebral Palsy Alliance have been providing support workers and resources like a chair and some things to help him just be able to do a little bit of more activity. But unfortunately, it got him so little that he won't speak, he won't walk, he can't move much now. And I just wanted them to not have to worry about finance, at this time, and just to enjoy making memories and making moments with him. And I know that others wanted to do, like, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can say. So sometimes giving money is and letting them just have that was something to do. So that's what.
Yes, we'll definitely put a link below. Anyone watching this, there'll be a link below if you want to find out more or contribute or educate yourself on it. And I'm sure there's lots of science trying to research into it as well, especially once there's a case or two. I don't know how many cases in the world there are, but I know that
Very rare. Yeah, it's very rare, but their kind of awareness is around genetic testing. So they'd like to raise awareness for, like, Genes for Genes Day we just had. But understanding genetic conditions, they had testing. They had like the NIP and Harmony test, but there are other tests that you can get done. And especially if there's been some family history, yes, it costs money, but like the pain and the challenge that not only the family but that child might have to go through, like understanding all that before you bring a child into the world. Not that they would ever wish to not have Louis, but would they put themselves through this again? Would families have to put themselves through this again? I don't know. So that's kind of been their learning and their message, but then also seeing the support organizations that are out there and what support they need as well. So again, shout out to Cerebral Palsy Alliance and Bear Cottage, which is a palliative care unit in Sydney, where they've been able to go and get some respite and get support, and ultimately Louis will go.
Whoa, yeah. So, yes. So, a lot of what we talked about was about cost, in terms of cost, emotional, energy, money, life, making decisions. There's a big theme with our conversation. And so I'd love to ask you, what would be your biggest skill set? Because you're obviously quite good at it. You're feeling it. You're also navigating it. You're also being proactive. You're really an inspiration. I feel it. I'm getting emotional. So I'm wondering, if someone's watching there and they want to take a bit of advice from you about how can I navigate so I can give, but also give to myself, but also navigate? What would be your skill? Do you think you were born with it? Or I know you've got all the self-care, but what would you say to someone listening? What would help them to be able to be a little bit more like that if they wanted to be?
I think asking for help. So I've asked for a lot of help. One of the first things I did when I found out that my nephew was quite unwell was I reached out to a friend whose son had a kidney transplant and said, what did you want when you were in hospital? What support did you want? How did you want people to support you? What did you need? And so getting guidance from lived experience, again, calling on your network, don't be afraid to ask for help to the people who can actually help. I knew people working in NDIS, I knew people in disability services, I knew people who were carers, and I was like, I went to everyone I knew who knew anything about it and just said, I need information and help me. I've gone to PR and media specialists, even though my background's in PR. I said, I'm too close to it. So if this story got picked up, what would we do? And I've been very generous and very supportive of a lot of people. And so it's like the other thing is being able to receive the help. And it's something that I've had to guide and support my brother and his wife through, is that it's like, if not now, when? This is your time to receive. This is your time to receive the love. And like I said, people want to help, they just don't know how. So specific asking of what you need, and then when the help is there, actually receive it and take that love and receive it with your heart, because you know that you would do the same for someone else. So even though I've been supporting them, I have been receiving support from others. And then I guess the lesson that I've learned this year is my kinesiologist. So I go to a kinesiologist who helps me with energy. I've been very proactive with my energy as well, going to people to help me with making sure that I can stay okay. And she said to me, grief clarifies living. And so, I've lost my grandmother this year. I lost another two friends. The year started off with a horrible helicopter crash on the Gold Coast, which my husband supported on because it was at SeaWorld. Around me has been just grief and crisis. And I'm now reading a book called The Life List by Kate Christie, and it just is saying the same thing. It's like, you don't have time to not live the life that you want to live. Like, we may not have time. Stop putting it off. So I won an award the other day, which I'll do. And in my speech, I said, I dedicated it to Louis, because Louis, my nephew, is reminding me to live bigger, live harder, live stronger. That doesn't mean that I'm just like doing everything. Like I said, I mean, I need to rest, I need to get energy so that I can do the things that are important. So that means it's taught me to say no to the things that aren't important, because it doesn't contribute to the bigger mission. It doesn't help my family have me around. It doesn't, what is the actual important thing, what I actually want to do. The rest doesn't matter. So do the big stuff, do the important stuff, do the things that care about. And yeah, I guess grief's really been a motivator for me to live.
And that has always fascinated me, how people can be in the worst situation and they rise through it like the lotus out of the mud, so to metaphorically, and really using yes, what? Oh, that's you. I love it. And what's the other card again that you had early on? I love that too.
Yeah, I'm all about, so those are my affirmation cards, and then these are my nature's. I totally love these. These are nature's whispers, so empowerment. So yeah, all very
And
aligns.
it connects. Being rising and learning from each hardship is one of the key things to thrive. I've noticed that people that thrive see everything as, wow, what can I learn? And talking about change, a lot of people are trying to deny the fact that we're all going to grow older and we don't know how many years we've got left. And I think always, this is my philosophy, go to the deathbed and then work backwards. What would you actually be proud of? And make sure you put those things in place. I'm sure your mindset is exactly like that. And you probably coach people on this, I imagine. And we don't know, do we get another day or another month? And it's an absolute reality. It's all around us, even with the plants, they come up and then there's a season, and yet it's one of the hardest things to navigate.
I think it more so in Western society. I think other cultures are kind of can be better with it. So just learning to kind of, one of my clients is a cemetery, so I've written a lot about grief. I write articles for them about grief, so it's very funny how your past experience ends up coming back to help you. And
what is she? Catch that she is a what?
You're one friend? Of my clients. It's a corporate client that I have. So because of my communications background, I still do some writing in the background, and I love what they do, and they're a cemetery. So I write grief articles to support people through grief. And so this year I was on the website looking for saying, what did I write?
Yes. Oh my God.
I need my words to help me now. So, and they really have. So, I think, but also working with them, the cemeteries are beautiful places. They've made them beautiful places, and they talk about honoring and celebrating life. And so looking at it from, of course you have sadness, of course you miss that person, but there's also a way to look at what they've contributed and the joy that they've brought, even if it's only for a short time, even if they're only 18 months or 2 or 3 years old, we can still love and learn with them.
And that is powerful. I feel like we're so similar. We're different, but also similar, because you're going to bring up India, maybe, because we both love India too, and how people have a different relationship with death, it's so fascinating, and how children that have nothing can seem like the happiest children versus children that have everything here, just totally, don't even connect anymore, and recognizing that and learning from each other, because they are trying to become westernized, and I'm going, don't do it.
No, please. Stay in your beautiful culture. And I get quite envious of even though people say you have it in you. Like my friend literally thinks there's a zipper at the back of my head and there's an Indian woman inside. He tells me that all the time. He's like, you know more than I do, and I'm Indian. So, but I've been 12 times, 12 or 13, I've lost count, but it's like my heart country. And like you said, I feel like I love the contrast and the complexity of India. You can have so much poverty, so much like on the surface what you think, and then you can have so much beauty. You can literally have like this cacophony of noise, but then also find peace in that city. Like Mumbai is one of my favorite cities in the world. It's crazy. It's 25 plus million people, so densely populated, but I've stood on a rooftop and just felt so serene and so at home. And I just think there's a saying there. So I have a tattoo on my arm there, and it says, Atiti Devo Bhava, and it means guest is God. And that's the way India has welcomed me and treated me, is that they treat you like you're number one, like the guest is number one, and you are welcome. And they call, your family from day one. And so I have family there. I call them family. I say uncle, auntie. They don't say come to my house. They say come home. Come home for lunch. And I'm like, oh, it really does feel like home. I know the way they treat their staff as well says a lot about, not everybody's as good, but I learn a lot about having people in service in your home and the way that you can have that relationship. It can be really beautiful, and the support that ongoing effect of having people that you give a job to. So just a different structure to what we have here. They have so many people, they have the manpower. So I've been partnering with an Indian travel company, one of my side businesses, for 6 years. We were going to start launching like tours in 2019, but obviously, we'd started running some tours, and I'd started testing itineraries as a group situation, because to take more so women, a lot of women who saw me going and wanted to go but found it a bit overwhelming. So to take them in small groups, I'll always go to India anytime, but then obviously we had a pause in the world. So now we're starting that back. I'm organizing itineraries for people in India, Sri Lanka, Bhutan, and Nepal. And then I created a retreat based off one of my tours. And so we're going 3 days in a hotel, 5-star hotel in Fort Kochi in Kerala, and then 2 nights on a boat in the backwaters. And it's called Rest and Receive. And it's all about taking time out in space in a beautiful place to receive the opportunities that are waiting for you in the world.
You are incredible. This whole meeting with you, and I'm sure you probably have to go. We've been here for a while now. I'm rounded up, but it's all about celebrating life, seizing the moment, communicating about what's working, appreciating it, letting go of what doesn't, making those choices, having those boundaries, asking for help, receiving it, and knowing we don't know how long we've got, and it's a magical time, but we have to choose carefully what is really important. That's what I'm getting from you. That's what I'm feeling in my heart too. And that's the essence of life, isn't it? And you are powerful. And just because you are doing business meetings and making it look like fun and running a business does not mean it's any less than anything else. And let's shout that to the rooftops as well, and really make that known and celebrate.
Yeah, you can have a serious business in a really fun way.
Yes, that's right. And I'll really look forward, because you're rebranding. I'm going to put your new site into the link below, because it's a rebranding happening. We're in a process of rebirthing. I'm also rebirthing, and I also went from a business name to my name, so I can just keep going. Yeah. But I'm trying to not do that, so that you have to.
Oh, thank you. Well, you'll have to come on my new podcast and share your journey. Because that's what I wanted. I wanted the freedom to be able to share stories and to talk about life and to talk about whatever we wanted. And, if that does go down a marketing route, or talking about business finance route, or talking about a specific travel style route, that's fine. But I really, the only question I want to ask on my podcast is, what does living a life you love look like? And then and I want to hear people's story. I want to hear how you started. What were the challenges? Just wake up one day here as Sabine Cristelli. You have to get there, and I want to hear all of that.
And then other people that listen can go, I've got that, I can do that, she did that, why don't I try this? And we just really, again, uplifting each other. And always there will be obstacles. It's like the yogic knots or the granties. There will be a little bridge you want to create, and we need that help, and we can get over it. Next blossoming of the lotus happens. And so we keep going, and that's normal, because I know some people really, really have issues having challenge, but that happens to all of us. It's just, how do we navigate it? Do we ask for help? Can we receive? Can we stop? Can we see the healer or the whatever it is? I love it. It's been so amazing to chat. Is there anything else you wanted to say? Because I know I'm getting too excited and hyperactive now.
I really appreciate your energy, and I appreciate you holding space for the conversation today and letting it go where it went. And I'm so happy that you, Sabine, you kept reaching out, because sometimes we go, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that, and then it all falls away. So thank you for keeping the connection. And that's something that people, if just keep following up and keep staying in touch. And you don't know where something's going to lead sometimes. Just kind of keep nurturing that relationship. And if you're feeling an energy, or you're feeling drawn to someone, just keep going with it. So I appreciate you for staying with me and giving me this opportunity as well.
Well, thank you for articulating that, because that's another good tip for the audience. Don't take it personally. I knew it wasn't, but some people would go, oh, maybe she doesn't like me. I'm just like, hey, we couldn't make that one. Well, when is this one? It's capacity to go, and you're really encouraging and reminding the audience that's listening. That's the essence of life as well. Things are much sweeter than we usually think they are. They're just innocence. And so thank you. And thank you also for making the time. I know you're a super busy lady. So I really know it is all that juggling and stuff. So thank you. And I look forward to publishing this magical interview. Thank you for your time, Emma. You're amazing.
Dankeschön.
Bitteschön. Bis bald. You're amazing. See you soon. Ciao.